Hey guys, welcome back to another Vanguard video. Today it's Liael Tuesday and we have the reveal of Animus as well as the brand new rearguard, which is honestly very strong. So first off, we have one who bears resolve in sin, Liael Animus, and there's a lot to break down. Really only 3 scales, but anyways, first off we have the Kant. This card can only be rode from a grade 3 with Odium or Immorta in its card name, and normal riding from those units becomes a Persona ride. So it doesn't really have space in Draconis. I think there will be builds that do try it out, because you technically could use Divine Skill on Draconis, go into Immorta, and it is a Liael name, so Liael can grab it off the top 7, but I think you just have too many grade 3s at this point, and you rather just have consistency for other cards such as the Nebula Knight Order, and of course your custom promo Hikari, which gets you a lot of soul and easy early game as well. So the second skill is auto. When placed on Vanguard Circle, you choose a grade 3 with either Odium or Immorta in its card name from your soul or drop, and this unit gets all of the card name and all of the abilities of the chosen card until end of fight. So very nice that you just gain that until end of fight. With name, you're never going to lose it. There's nothing with delete in Vanguard, but of course your abilities can be lost to Blangmire. But the most important thing is that you can empty your soul against prison, which is really big. Because we had decks such as the Faded Kings that did need to keep those forms in soul, they kind of did really not too well into prison, especially in that meta back in DZ-BT13. So it's really good that this deck can basically empty their soul and kind of play around prison while still keeping the full name and effects. You get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them. You either bind it or put it face up as a regress gauge. So of course it works very well for Odium or for Immorta. If you bound, you choose a card from your bind, put it into drop. If you put something as a regress gauge, you choose one regress gauge and discard it. So basically send it to drop, and then you shuffle your deck. So you basically get to deck then 1 and get something into your bind or regress gauge, which is really nice. Always love free deck then 1. And of course, keeping the full names and abilities is really big, so you can use your old cards. Then the last skill is act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. If you used a Divine Skill this fight, you cost Energy Blast 3. This unit gets the red text of Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. At the end of the battle, this unit attacks. You choose one of your rear guards and stand it until end of turn. So you're able to basically get an extra attack. You have another extra swing after your Divine Skill turn. Most of the time you are likely killing, on your Draconis Persona ride or Odium Persona ride turn. But in case you ran out of gas or the game went on that long, you have an extra swing here. So very unique that they kind of threw this in. Of course, we didn't see this in the anime because, we saw Hikari basically just win on that turn pretty much. But I still think overall this card is really strong. It's just a nice upgrade to all the decks. I think it's definitely a bigger upgrade for Odium, and of course also makes Immorta its own kind of version of the deck. But I think Draconis just has more pieces at this point and uses like cards such as the Nebula Knight Order and other things very well. So yeah, also a really cool thing to know, I think it was Meichangu on Twitter who also noted this as well. If you did bound, you choose a card from your bind zone, put into your drop. So of course that could be the Nebula Knight Order as well. But again, I think this is just a really good upgrade for Odium and Immorta, just more deck filter, more consistency, and of course you have that follow-up on a turn where you didn't successfully kill, basically, and you have a little bit more gas to basically get cards out of your opponent. And of course, that's not even including, the triple drive you'll have from Odium, and of course, Immorta's on attack to basically call something out of deck. Usually, of course, that's going to be Gab, which is, of course, going to be an extra drive check on that turn as well, which is really strong. And of course, you also have your rears on side. So yeah, pretty much to conclude, bigger upgrade for Odium, less so for Immorta, but it makes it its own build. And Draconis, I'm not too sure really going to be playing this because you have a lot of grade 3s already, and I think your deck and consistency is looking really good once you get the promo Nebula Knight Order as well as the new grade 2 rear we're about to take a look at. Alright, now we have Sky-engraving Decree, Urut, and Luael, and man, this card is so good that we saw in the anime. It's got 3 very strong abilities. So the first auto is when this card is put into your bind zone or gauge zone by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Liael in its card name. If you did not look at your deck by the ability of a card with the same name as this card this turn, so it's basically hard locked once per turn. You look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 3 without Regulus piece from among them, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. You just add a grade 3 to your hand. It's that good. Essentially free check top 5 every turn. And because it doesn't say grade 3 unit card, you can of course be grabbing the Nebula Knight Order in Keter Sanctuary, or of course in Odium, grabbing your Distorted Banes, which is so strong. Just more deck filter to find your pieces. To have those 4 Distorted Banes set up on your Persona ride and Divine Skill turn to just really end your opponent. The extra +5 to your rears is huge. You have the second ability auto when placed on Rearguard Circle from hand. You choose a grade 3 with Liael in its card name for your ride deck and you may reveal it. If either you revealed or you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Liael in its card name, you cast Counter Blast and draw a card. So big as a dual nation card like Animus. You can use this for easy early game. Of course, Animus, as we already talked about, is going to be more so used in Immorta and Odium, but this is, of course, is going to be amazing in Draconis as well. It's easy early game, easy check top 5 for your Nebula Knight Order, and of course, in Odium as well, it's just going to be easy early game, and of course, find your Distorted Banes. But yeah, early game, CB draw 1 is amazing, and if you do have any excess, CB to burn when you're on grade 3 or later, you could just draw 1, which is so nice. And the last skill is definitely the highlight of this card, auto rearguard circle once per turn. When it attacks, if you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard with Liael in its card name, it gets +5, so it's an easy 15k attacker when you go first. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 greater, you get +10k instead of +5, and if you got +10 by this effect, you choose up to one normal unit without Sentinel from your drop. You either put it on the bottom of your deck or into Soul, so it's free Soul or stopping your deck out, which is huge for decks such as Odium or sometimes even Draconis if the game goes on long enough that you do just run out of cards out of deck, which is so big because, you kind of want to do that extra drive to, get that bind from the E4 skill. And of course, you can choose up to one normal unit without Sentinel from drop, but of course you can put back OG Amorta and then, find that off Liael or whatever and, be able to have another PG or, just really just so useful in so many scenarios. I think between this and the Draconis promo, you just have so much Soul to work with, which is so strong. Like Draconis' biggest issue was definitely that Soul. Liael burns your Soul so fast and really you only had Almov, but now you have like so many good cards on top of this as well as Kikil, which is the custom Draconis promo that I like to joke about. That is so strong in terms of resources for the deck. So you're pretty set on resources and you have a lot of really easy ways to burn your Subi and Soul to just plus and find your pieces. And of course, this is helping you every turn with a check top 5 for any grade 3. You can grab your Nebula Knight order again. And then of course, Liael is going to grab you your Gabs or any of your Liael names, which is very nice. Could it be your PG, your Persona Ride, whatever you need. I think Urut and Luael definitely stand out more as, kind of a package for the entire support, no matter what build you're playing. Because Animus obviously looks like it's more geared towards Amorta and Odium, less so for Draconis, because I think they already knew how strong Draconis was as a Vanguard, especially now that it has a lot of its weaknesses patched up going into DZ-BT13. And of course, for us in English, we're going to be getting the Nebula Knight order and then eventually the Kikyo promo as well, which will be a big upgrade for the deck. But yeah, I think this Dual Nation card looks really cool. I kind of like threw this in a private Discord. I was like, oh, maybe with the codes, we'll get like an actual Dual Nation card. And it actually happened in the anime. Like I was just flipping. I didn't want to talk about it too much in the YouTube post because I figured it would spoil people who didn't want to see that. But yeah, again, this card is just amazing. It's basically free top 5 every turn because you're easily going to bind this off Draconis' skill or even in Amorta, you'll just have it on board, bind it for the on attack. Of course, for Odium, it's super easy to get into, your regress gauge as well, through all your other effects such as Colossus and Vanguard. And then again, easy CB1 draw one, so it's stabilizing you in the early game. And of course, that easy power. And of course, extra Soul really if you just need it, or being able to put a normal unit back, to not deck out into your deck. So which is really nice. Liael Draconis players probably already know this from your ride line, but if you do bot deck any of your ride deck and it goes back to deck, it's just going to go face up back to the ride deck. So just really cool things you can do with this card that I think adds a lot to the deck. It is a very simple card, like if you just look at the effects, but it's just so strong. Like it's just 3 super good things for the deck that the deck really needed for Liael. So again, not too much to say. I think in Odium, haven't really talked too much about this, but again, it's just good for stabilizing, good to get your distorted Banes, all 4 of them in, and of course that free power, getting that extra Soul, or even being able to bot deck a unit in the end game. Odium will basically sometimes get to a point where if you do have to do that triple drive, you are really close to deck out because you do triple into twin on your divine skill. But, for the turn after, if you do want to swing Vanguard, if you do swing and use the skill, you do get that triple drive. So this really helps with that. So you can just bottom deck, any non, trigger and just, have to worry about that. Or maybe if you were playing like, OT and you had to draw that and it was in your 3 drive checks, to not really be scared of that for deck out, because you could technically use this twice if you had 2 on your board. But this card is just a big upgrade all around for all Liael decks and builds, so I'm sure Liael mains are just very happy about this. So let me know what you think of these cards. I think they're just really good for the deck, obviously. And yeah, let's move on to some other cards that are kind of probably not in the deck just due to deck space, but we'll go over them anyways. So the first card to talk about is Gear Eagle of Recovery. So auto backward rearguard circle. When your other unit in the same column as the unit stands, by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Liael in its card name, you may stand this unit. So that's pretty much after, you have used Divine Skill and then use the act of the Animus. Then if you did put this unit into Soul, it gets plus 5k power at end of turn. So pretty much you just get another backward recenter, which is pretty nice. But yeah, this card isn't really that great because it's not really going off until turn 5 after you've used your divine skill. So it's just a really late game card that isn't doing much in the deck in the early game, so you don't really need it, and you just have too much space that you need for other good cards. Next up, we have Steam Performer Liael, and this is actually a double rare. So auto when this card is discarded from hand during your turn, if your order zone has a destined timepiece, you Soul +1, call this card to backward rearguard circle. But still a pretty cool card to be included. Just kind of feels like a throwaway double rare, honestly. Last card to talk about is Boundary Piercing Colossus. This is another Odium card, so auto, when put its regress grade during your turn, Soul Charge 1, choose your units, gets +5 until end of turn. Plus 5k is cool, but again, you just have space you need to give to other cards, and of course, you already have Soul Charge from Distorted Bane. Alright, now I have to give fair spoiler warnings for this because they did actually spoil who's going to be in the Friday episode, so if you don't want to be spoiled, click away. But we did find out from the live stream that in the Friday episode, Fighting Me True is Reika Koshiba, which is going to be using Fantome Youthberg, which you are getting revealed next Tuesday. So as a Youthberg man, I'm pretty excited for this. Was definitely hoping more so for Donji or Yu, but I'll take this as well. His outfit does look like Dark States. We have a silhouette right there. But yeah, anyways, the description is pretty much on Wonder Hill, an amusement park is in the dead of night. Hangout there is Team Twilight and its leader, Reika Koshiba. The Parallactic clash with Reika, who shows hostility to Michiru for some reason, begins. So we're finally getting some more old character interactions, was something I was really hoping for in this season. And because he does look like Dark States, just kind of like how ripped his outfit is, I do want to say he's the last, Fantome fighter we have here, because a lot of the times, obviously, we did see that the Fantome fighters each have their own nation, and Dark States was pretty much the only one we didn't have, because we knew Gamp Fantome is using Dark States, but he's kind of like the final boss of the anime. Like, he never introduces himself as a Fantome fighter, so really cool to get that at next Tuesday. Youthberg Fantome reveals. Can't wait for that. Again, we don't have any confirmation on the nation. I'm purely just speculating it based on, the other nations that we have for the other Fantome fighters. But man, so excited for that for the Friday episode. And guys, Thursday, we're getting the full reveal of the Blaster Blade start deck, which is definitely going to be very good based on the patterns that we saw for the Overlord start deck. And kind of a little bit worried because this will likely be like the BSF meta and probably like a very long meta for JP as well once those start decks do come out, which is actually pretty soon for them. For us, it's all the way in May, but for them, it's actually going to be like in the next, month or so. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again in another Vanguard video.